Okay, the second talk is Professor Kan from Shanghai, China. He is going to talk about the ambient air pollution and the pollution health in China. Dr. Kan is a professor and a director of Department of Environmental at the Fudan University. He has a MD degree and a PhD degree from Fudan, not yet? From Fudan University. Okay. His research focuses on air pollution and health impact and environmental epidemiology. Dr. Kan, please. Okay. Thanks, Professor Yang, for the introduction. First, I would like to thank the organizer of the meeting to invite me to be here. I would like to take this opportunity to give a brief introduction about air pollution and the human health in China, because air pollution in China is so severe and it's a very important public health problem in my country. I'm from Fudan University in Shanghai, and here is the outline of my talk, some background introduction about air pollution level, then disease burden of air pollution in China, then the current evidence of air pollution and health. Finally, a summary. During the past 30 years, with the rapid economic development in China, air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution cause a lot of public health problems in China. And in terms of health, air pollution is most significant among various environmental risks in China. Here, I just cite one report from World Bank. You can see here, compared with water pollution, although this estimate is thought to be underestimated, the disease burden of air pollution is still 10 times higher compared with water pollution. So air pollution in China, in terms of health, is much more important than water pollution. And let's look at the global PM2.5 levels. From Africa to India to China, there is a big area with high PM2.5 level. But if we exclude dust-related and sea-related PM2.5, in the world there are only two areas with high PM2.5 level: the north part of India and the east part of China. Of course, the heavy fog 2 years ago caught the attention from the world. From this picture, you can see. Let's look at the PM2.5 level in different Chinese cities. And the daily average is almost 700 micrograms per cubic meter, which is so high. Even during the London fog, more than 60 years ago, although there was no PM2.5 level, during that time, if we transform TSP into PM2.5, the PM2.5 level during the fog is probably very comparable with the London fog 60 years ago. Of course, PM2.5 is not a new problem in my country. Let's look at this picture. This is the historical comparison of PM2.5 level from 1990 to now. This is China and this is the US. And even 25 years ago, the annual average PM2.5 level in China is 40. And nowadays, the level increased more than 50%. But for the US, you can see the level is 25 years ago, it's about 16, but now it's only about 12. So in China, PM2.5 is not a new problem. It's a long-term problem. Of course, this is, I just showed you several pictures. I mean, this sports game and epic blue happens during a very short period. And total different pictures. But what about the future? I personally believe air quality in China is going to be improved in the next 10 or 20 years. Why is that? This is the environmental coolness curve. And I believe my country is very close to the cut point, because for most countries, the cut point happens when the GDP per person reaches 10,000 US dollars. And China is very close to that cut point. And there is some evidence for that. In Beijing, in this year, the fine particle level, compared with last year, have decreased more than 15%. In Shanghai, in Guangzhou, similar things happen. So I'm quite sure air quality in China is going to be improved. Of course, China's air pollution problem is not only a domestic issue, it's a global public health concern because it affects the neighboring countries. But I have to say that China nowadays is a global factory, and about 1/3 of China's air pollutants were associated with production of goods for overseas market. So air pollution in China is related with not only with Chinese people, but also with people around the world. Okay, then I will move to the disease burden of air pollution in China. So first, I would like to mention the global burden of disease study in the year 2010. This is the top 20 risk factor for deaths globally and in China. Globally, ambient air pollution, ambient PM is the number 8 risk factor, but for China, the rank is much higher. In China, ambient PM 2.5 is the number 4 risk factor. Every year, there are about 8 to 9 million deaths in China. And air pollution, ambient air pollution accounts for about 50% of total deaths, which means 1.2 million deaths in China was caused by ambient PM 2.5. This is the last GBD study. Let's look at the latest one. This is the latest GBD results, and still the rank is very similar. Air pollution, the size is too small. Air pollution is still the number 4 risk factor. Let's look at the estimate. In the latest GBD study, ambient PM caused 916,000 deaths. And household air pollution, this is indoor air pollution. The problem is in rural area, caused about 800,000 deaths, and ambient ozone is also a problem. The estimate is a little bit lower compared with the last estimate. And what is the cause of this? For the 916,000 deaths, most of the deaths were cardiovascular disease. COPD is a small one, and lung cancer. These 3 diseases, cardiovascular disease, COPD, and lung cancer, were the 3 major diseases was associated with air pollution in China. Of course, different studies have different estimates. This study was just published on Nature just last month, I believe. Okay, here is the premature mortality due to various auto pollution sources in China. The total estimate is higher, compared with several other studies, 1.35 million deaths every year due to outdoor air pollution. And what's the major source? The largest source is residential energy. The second source is agriculture, then power generation. For traffic, it's only 3%. For large Chinese cities, traffic might be a very important source of air pollution. But from the whole country's perspective, then traffic is not a big problem. Of course, we need to know what's the health cost. And according to the World Bank report, the lower estimate, air pollution related health cost is about 1.2% of China's GDP, and the high estimate is nearly 4% of China's GDP. So air pollution is not only a big public health problem, but also a very important economic problem in China. Okay, then I will talk about the current evidence of air pollution and population health in China. I will divide, this is a PubMed search of air pollution health. You can see there are so many studies there, a big literature data set. I would like to divide the air pollution epidemiology study in China into 3 categories. First is the short-term exposure study. and the long-term exposure study, and intervention studies. I would like to briefly introduce some multi-city analysis and panel studies. For long-term exposure study, although there are several cross-sectional analyses, but for cohort study in China, it's very scarce. And for intervention study, there is a very well-known study during the Beijing Olympics. I will also introduce some new study using air purifier. First, this is the first multi-city study of air pollution in China or even in Asia. This is PAPA study supported by the Health Effects Institute in Boston. And the PAPA study includes 3 Chinese cities, Wuhan, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. Another one is Bangkok. I will focus on this new one, CAPE study. The full name of CAPE is China Air Pollution and Health Effects Study, initiated by the China Ministry of Environmental Protection. So here is the cities. This study is cities from north to south. There are Shenyang, Anshan, Urumqi. In middle China, Shanghai, Wuhan, Suzhou. In southern China, Guangzhou, Hong Kong. And this picture, this map is shows the emission of air pollution in China. We can see that all these cities were very consistent. Is located in the major emission area of China. Okay, here is the outcome and the air pollution data we have used in the CAPE study. And for most Chinese cities, we use mortality because this data is reliable. And for mobility cities, mobility data because the health insurance system is not so complete in China. So we only have the data for Shanghai. For the exposure side, we have PM10, SO2, M2 for every city, and for some city we have PM2.5 data. We also find particle number concentration in some cities and component in some cities. And we also have some data for the carbon, ozone, carbon monoxide, and visibility. What's the contribution of this study? Because what will it contribute to policymaking in China? Because I think the most important thing is it provides evidence for the national CR function of air pollutants in China. And it will enable comparison of risk estimate in China and in developed countries. Okay, here is the results for PM10 and of course the effect on total mortality, cardiovascular mortality, and respiratory mortality was significant. And we also examined the sensitive population to air pollution. One interesting finding is in China, compared with men, Chinese women were more sensitive to air pollution exposure. We assume different smoking prevalence might contribute to this finding because in China, more than half of Chinese men smoke, but for Chinese women, less than 5% of Chinese women smoke. So for those Chinese men who are already exposed to smoking, air pollution probably is not a big problem, but for Chinese women, they are more sensitive to air pollution. So that's just my hypothesis, no evidence for that. Of course, very similar to other parts of the world, older people are so sensitive to air pollution and low economic status were sensitive to air pollution. And this is the combined ER function of PM2.5 in the whole country. And where is the current air quality standard? It's here. Daily average, 75. And we can see that even below the current air quality standard of China, with the increased air pollution level, the mortality risk also increased. This finding suggests that in the future, the China AQS must be lowered. We must have a lower China's air quality standard. One very interesting finding from this new study is we find some regional pattern of PM's health impact. For example, 1 point means one Chinese city, and the x-axis is the city's pollution level, and y-axis is the exposure response function per mortality risk increase per unit increase of air pollutant concentrations. We find two extremes. One is Guangzhou and Fuzhou, and one is Lanzhou and Urumqi. Where are these cities? Here. This is Urumqi and this is Lanzhou, and Hong Kong here, Guangzhou here, and in northwest China, Guang here, and Guangzhou, Fuzhou is southeast China. Two different, totally different. Why is that? Of course, one reason for that is the air pollution mixture are different because components in different Chinese cities might be different. Different components might be different toxicity, different human health effects, and there is some evidence for that because this is the PM composition in various Chinese cities. Here is Beijing, capital of China, and economic center of China, Shanghai. And we can find that in northern, Beijing is a very typical northern Chinese cities, southern Chinese cities. A component from crustal, from soil, the percentage is much higher compared with southern Chinese cities. But for secondary non-organic aerosols, southern Chinese cities, the percentage is higher. Here, sulfate, nitrate are much higher than in Beijing. So one reason for the regional pattern might be related with the mixture component. And we have some very interesting findings from the exposure pattern in different Chinese cities because people spend about 90% of time indoors. So we suspect whether the regional pattern of PM10 health impact was attributable to a potential role of indoor exposure to outdoor PM2.5. This is a collaboration with some engineer who is developing a kind of PM exposure coefficient. It's actually, the principle is very simple. It's a ratio. It's a ratio of real exposure to PM and outdoor measurement of PM. And here is our findings. The x-axis is the PM exposure coefficient in different Chinese cities. Y-axis is the mortality coefficient. We find that this new coefficient might explain more than 50% of the pattern. So we suspect regional pattern might be very important to explain different health impact we find in different Chinese cities. So this is another analysis we use. We did not use the outdoor air pollution measurement in our analysis. We use a combined new estimate combining both indoor and outdoor exposure. We find the regression, the regression model, the performance of the regression model improved a lot. In our case study, we also examine the role of particle size and particle component. Here is a study in Shenyang, and we divide particle, here is the particle number concentrations within different size. And the very interesting finding is the cut point here is 0.5 microgram. We find for the particles, smaller particles, less than 0.5 microgram, the health effects is significant, is positive, but for the big particles larger than 0.5 microgram, we did not find significant association. What's the reason for that? We assume the deposition of particle in the respiratory system might partly account for our finding because the cut point is also here, 0.5 microgram. Large particle, it's, how do you say, 撞击成绩. How do you say? I don't know. Okay, different deposition of particles might account for the health effects. Okay, we also examine the component and the health impact. And this is a study in Xi'an, and we find most of the components associated with mortality risk is the component from the combustion fossil fuels, and the component from the soil, from natural sources, such were not associated with the adverse death risk, the adverse health risk. And BC might be especially important in China because here is a finding from Shanghai, and we find after the BC's effect remained after adjustment for PM2.5, but for PM2.5, its effects did not disappear after adjustment for BC. And we also, this is a new study in Shanghai, and we also find in all of the PM2.5 components, organic carbon and element carbon might be most important, compared with the other PM2.5 component. And our impression from the evidence in this Chinese city is organic carbon and element carbon might be more important than other components. This is just some evidence from Chinese cities. Of course, in China there are also several panel studies providing some evidence for the PM's biological system to affect health. Here is a study, I just mentioned 2 new studies. Here is a study examining size fractionized PNC data and the circulation biomarkers. The findings were very consistent with previous time series studies because we find particles less than 0.4 microgram had the most strongest association, compared with the large particles. And we find apparent acute effects on circulation biomarkers even 2 hours after exposure. And the effects on inflammation occurred more quickly than on coagulation and vasoconstriction. And also, this is another new study, and in this new study we conducted 6 repeated tests on phenol. Phenol is a biomarker for respiratory inflammation among a panel of therapeutic patients. And this picture shows different PM2.5 components, and this is the percentage change in phenol. And we find among various components, organic carbon, element carbon, nitrate, and ammonia were associated with phenol. And this is the DNA methylation, and this is the component, and the results were very similar: organic carbon, element carbon, nitrate, and ammonia. Let's look at the time course. And we find that the effects of PM2.5 component on DNA methylation happens very quickly, but the effects of PM2.5 on the percentage on phenol is much slower compared with the DNA methylation. And we assume DNA methylation might play a very important role between the association of PM2.5 and phenol. And of course, all the articles mentioned above were short-term effect study. In China, there are several new cohort studies we are pushing. Here I just cite the largest one. The name is China National Hypertension Survey. Actually, this was a very successful cohort study in China. Of course, the cohort was pretty old. The baseline survey was 1991. Follow-up visit was 1999. And the data quality of that cohort was very good. And we just added air pollution exposure on that cohort and trying to see the long-term effects of air pollution. Here is the cohort size. Almost it covers more than 0.5% of China's area. And the air pollution level during 1990s was pretty high. For example, TSP is nearly 300 microgram per cubic meter. And here is the results after adjustment for many confounders such as smoking, alcohol intake, physical activity, hypertension, and we find this is the finding for TSP. TSP was very significantly associated with cardiovascular mortality. And what interesting thing is to compare the finding of Chinese cohort with the classical ACS cohort. ACS cohort is American Cancer Society cohort. This is a very classical air pollution cohort in Western countries. Let's do a comparison. Here, I just transform TSP into PM2.5. This is ACS regression coefficient, and this is the ER function from Chinese cohort. We find for every outcome, the health effects in Chinese cohort were lower compared with the US cohort. And also we just did a meta-analysis about exposure response function of air, PM, and the health outcome in China worldwide. We divided into the short-term effects, long-term effects, and for both short-term effects and chronic effects, the effect estimate in China, were much lower compared with the findings in Western countries. So we are curious, why is that? possible reasons for the small effect in Chinese cities. Here is the air pollution level in developed countries, and here is China. We assume that the air functions might tend to become flat at high end of air pollution level. So that's one reason. Of course, the other reason might be the different PM components, different population characteristics. Because for China, still China is aging very fast, but still, compared with developed countries, you have more young people, and the particles in China, substantial part of particles in China were still from the natural source. But in developed countries, most of the particles were from traffic or some kind of combustion of fossil fuels. In China, we also have some intervention studies. Here I'm going to introduce two studies. One is everybody knows this study, Beijing Olympics. And I'm also going to introduce one new study using air purifier. This is a very typical air pollution day in Beijing. And here is Tiananmen Square. You cannot see the shape of Tiananmen Square. This is the picture during Beijing Olympics, and we can see the air quality is much better. And here is the study conducted by the Peking University team, Professor Zhu Tong and Jin Zhang. And here is their study design. They are very smart. They divided the whole period into 3 parts: before the Olympics, during Olympics, and post-Olympics. And here is their findings. And the outcomes were biomarkers, and they find that during Beijing Olympics, here is during the Beijing Olympics, the biomarker, for inflammation, for vasoconstriction, and for decrease a lot. This is the intervention for biomarker. I did a small study during the Beijing Olympics. The outcome is outpatient visit for asthma during the Olympics, and we also find the odds ratio is 0.4, and the risk decreased about 50% during Beijing Olympics. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about a new study. This is a RCT study of air purifier. In China, the air pollution level is so high, and in Chinese cities actually, such as in Beijing and Shanghai, more than 0.5% of the families using air purifier. But people do not know what's the effect. Is there any real effect of using air purifier? So we just conducted a randomized double-blind crossover trial of the air purifier. So here is the PM 2.5 level. This is the outdoor. Let me introduce our study design a little bit more. We conducted our study at the campus of my university. We selected 10 students' dorm to do the study. For 5 dorms, we use a real air purifier. For another 5, we use a sham purifier. So without the filter, without HEPA filter. And this is the outdoor PM 2.5 level. And this is the indoor PM 2.5 concentrations with sham purified indoor air. This is the PM 2.5 concentration with the real air purifier. Actually, the effect is not so good as I imagined. I imagined the PM 2.5 level will decrease 90% probably, but the real effect is it's decreased, but the percentage is between 50% to 60%. But our intervention period was pretty short, only less than 50 hours, 2 days, more than 2 days, just around 2 days. And we did find very significant health benefit. This is PM 2.5 decrease, and we measure the blood inflammation, blood coagulation, vasoconstriction. We also measure lung function, blood pressure, and respiratory inflammation. And for this blood biomarkers, we measured 14 biomarkers. And we find for every biomarker, we find some improved. We find some effects, but 4 out of 14 biomarkers which was statistically significant. And for lung function, we did not find a significant change. For blood pressure, we found that the effect was significant. For respiratory inflammation, the phenol level also decreased significantly. So, I mean, for China and India with very high background air pollution level, even a short use of air purifier will result in apparent cardiopulmonary health benefits. So that's our basic conclusion from this study. So finally, I would like to give a summary of my talk. First, there is strong evidence that outdoor air pollution is associated with adverse health effects in Chinese population. An interesting thing is increased risk observed among Chinese population are somewhat lower in magnitude, per amount of pollution, than the risk found in developed countries. And the current air quality standard cannot fully protect human health. We must have a better AQS in the future. And indoor air purification may have cardiopulmonary benefits in developing countries with higher air pollution level. And I would like to thank my sponsors and my colleagues and students at Fudan University. And thank you very much. I would like to take questions.
Okay. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any question? Yeah.
I was very impressed with the graph comparing the London smog of 1952 and the Beijing smog of 2013. Now, obviously, we had SO2 as well, so it was a different mixture in London. But has anybody looked to see if there was a peak of mortality coinciding?
Actually, there was, the China CDC has just published one study during the Beijing fog. And their findings were very interesting. They find the mortality risk increase, but not so big, compared with London fog. Another finding is, in rural area, the mortality risk increased much higher compared with the urban area in Beijing. So we assume, during the Beijing fog, the urban people use air purifier a lot, but for the rural area, people have no, they do not know about health hazards of air pollution, and they don't take any personal protection ways to protect themselves. So there is some difference, for health effects in different areas in Beijing during that time. Yeah.
May I comment on that? Because we did similar studies in East Germany 20 years ago, and we know that in that time, in particular SO2 levels were extremely high, similar high as 30 years ago during the London smog. And so we expected extremely high mortality rates, and what we found was just a mild elevation. And then we came up with the idea of harvesting, so that means the population at risk, it's a cynic label, but nevertheless the population at risk is always a little bit exposed by smaller episodes, and those they took away those people who are at risk, and this is a methodological issue, and so you cannot identify the real your concentration response functions are methodological, a little bit disturbed or biased.
Okay.
And so a lot of your slides you have shown, even the slides where you compared the American Cancer Society figures with your own results. This is the same as we found. We found higher exposures, but lower risk.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm very interested in your the last topic about the intervention. Maybe you run out of time, you don't have time to explain how do you do that. And I'm quite interested in you find the biomarker of the cardiopulmonary, you dramatically decrease. Since you are doing the crossover study, I'm just wondering, how about the lag between when you put the subject in the intervention and what is the lag before you put it to the
Yeah,
comparison.
2 week washout period, 2 week.
And also time period you do the you measure the serum cardiopulmonary biomarkers,
Yes.
and you find the dramatic difference. That's good.
You mentioned about the unknown phenospecific increased mortality as a result of air pollution.
Yeah.
So have you looked into the possible secondhand smoking, the hazardous smoking inside the house? Also the cooking fuel. There's a lot of cooking related air pollution, especially in the rural China.
No, I don't have the data, but it's very interesting. There are similar findings for smoking's health effects. If people, men and women smoke, the woman's response, if you measure lung function, the woman's response is high. Compared with men. So our finding of air pollution is very similar to previous publication on smoking. So I don't know the exact reason for that. I just raise my hypothesis for that.
I have one question. If you consider the seasonal effect, because in different seasons, people play outdoor or indoor for different time.
Yeah.
So exposure, the real exposure is different from your exposure measurement.
Yeah, in our regression model, we control both long-term and seasonal effects. And the season is also related with temperature, and temperature has a very apparent effect on mortality and morbidity. So we have already controlled for seasonal effects.
Any other question? Over here.
Wonderful speech. So definitely I say if you want to conduct the air pollution related to the health effect, always we just only to conduct multi-pollutant, which did not just emphasize the one pollutant. Do you have conducted the multi-pollutant with your study, and or just the other pollutant just emphasize to understand the PM2.5 with the health effect?
Actually, for most of the air pollutants, due to they are from the same source, so the correlation coefficients were pretty high. So it's a tough job to differentiate the effects of individual pollutants. I don't think there is any ideal solution to this problem. So we try to do some multi-pollutant model in our regression analysis, but I think the results is not so stable. Or I don't have good answer for your question, but excellent question.
One another question. In your study, you emphasize the PM 2.5 and its relationship with the cardiovascular mortality. Did you consider maybe cause, PM 2.5 to 10 is more related to respiratory health outcome?
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. I don't have data to support that.
Any other question? Now we will close this section. Yes. Okay.